Thank you, Council, for joining us at this Thursday, August 18th special meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 8:01. Today's meeting is a special meeting of Council. It will be held as a virtual meeting, and some of us are in the Council chambers. The special meeting was called for updates regarding the Glencoe Memorial Arena and some discoveries that have been found. The meeting will be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel and website. We'll begin, Council, by stating any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. I see no hands, so we will move on to the delegation. First of all, I'm very pleased to have Allison Hannay with us from Cornerstone Architecture present. Allison, we are pleased you're with us today. Even if you have to bear some bad news, it's always easier when we have your professionalism with us. So without any further introduction, you take the floor.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that and appreciate your respect. As mentioned, I am the bearer of some not great news, and wanted to walk through any questions that you may have today. I don't know what information exactly has been provided to the group. I had prepared a summary of changes that was distributed to Greg and Jill and Kristen. And I don't know if you want me to share that, or if you would like me to talk in a high level about some of the issues that we found as we've gone through the demolition and renovation part of the work.
I think anything you can share with us would be appreciated, and I'm sure the public would be as well.
Okay, so on a high level, we had a contingency allowance of about $100,000 in the contract to deal with unforeseen conditions and other issues that may arise. I always comment to our clients that when we're starting a project that each building is a unique thing. It's not like we do cookie cutters of things, and particularly when we're doing renovation work, it's very very specific to the building that we're working on. So in some cases, there are things that we found in the buildings, and some issues are cases where we've had things that need to be fixed between consultant drawings. But I will first of all share with you the screen, hopefully here. Can everyone see this?
I think you're on the right track, yes.
Okay, perfect. Oops. Okay, so this is what we call our summary of changes, and these are pieces of information that have come up and things that we've resolved through the course of the construction. The prices, so basically it's identified by what the issue is, why it's required, when it was issued, when it was quoted, and the cost that was submitted. We've identified all of the ones that have been priced to date, and then there's a number of items below in pink that are our best guess at the moment for what we think the cost will be. And then there are two items in yellow that are significant differences. So for example, we had been requested to look into the provision of a new generator after the drawings were completed, and we received a price of $220,000 for that. And the other big item is the arena ceiling, and I'll provide a little bit of background to that for you. So the arena ceiling, when the low E ceiling was removed, and that's that ceiling that's above the ice rink that helps to keep coolness inside the rink and reduce energy. When that was removed, it was found that the existing concrete structure over the arena had been painted with an asbestos containing paint. This is kind of a significant issue because we are installing new electrical lines, new mechanical ductwork, and most importantly, new sprinkler lines throughout the entire arena surface area. The issue with this is that when it comes to installing these new services, because the paint is asbestos containing, we need a specialist consultant to provide all of the holes in the structure that support the new services. What this means is essentially that rather than having the mechanical, electrical trades and fire protection trades simply go up on the scaffolding and install their piping, we need to have, first of all, the mechanical, electrical trades either go up and show where the servicing is going to be in. We need the asbestos trade to do the holes, and then we need the mechanical trades to go back up and put them in. So that price came back at a much higher number than this. So we looked at an alternative to that, which was to install Unistrut, which is basically a subsystem of structure underneath the arena structure. This would all be installed by the asbestos trade, and then the mechanical and electrical trades can then go and just install things as per normal. So that cost of $111,000 represents the cost of all of the materials, plus the cost of the asbestos trades to go in and install all of that, so that the mechanical, electrical, and fire protection trades can just go in and do their work as per normal. So that was a significant cost increase. We did have a couple of other issues that arose. For example, when we did the floor cuts for putting in the new sanitary and storm, first of all, the pipes weren't where we were expecting them to be based on the existing drawings that we were provided. And then second problem was that they were in very poor condition. They were leaking. So there was a change to replace those. And then similarly, when we got outside of the building where we found the connection to the pipe, we found that the pipe going out to the street actually had a back slope on it. So there was a slight negative fall back towards the building. And we've issued a change to replace that into the street. The cost is not as bad as it could be because we've coordinated that to happen at the same time as all of the other road cut work is happening in that area. But what it does show is that, instead of having our total cost of changes, including all of this work at the moment, is $445,000 minus which includes the generator, less the $100,000 of what we had for contingency allowance. So those are the main items that we've come across to date. The cost for the low E ceiling was a replacement and was in addition to the contract amount. I'm just trying to confirm if that is in the $445,000 here. So let me just confirm that while we're waiting. We were able to find some credits along the way as well. For example, we found that we were not required to put sprinklers above the low E ceiling. So there was a credit there for that, and a credit for an alternate dehumidifier, which also helped our schedule out a little bit as well. So those are the high level items that we've come across to date with regard to the building itself. And anyway, happy to answer any questions. And I'm just going to go here to, so this $445,000 does not include the cost that was approved for the new low E ceiling. So we are at, if I take that out, we are at 390. So 491 less the contingency, which is $391,000. I have to say to this that we were not finished the project yet. So I'm hoping that there are not very many additional changes to this as we go forward. I think typically we usually find the worst of our issues during the demolition phase. And the remainder of it tends to go fairly straightforward after that, in my experience. But that's kind of where we're at today.
Thank you, Allison. I don't want to cut you off there, Allison. Are you, if you're finished?
I think
with
so.
that,
Yeah, unless happy to answer
screen
any
sharing,
questions.
we can go back to.
Okay.
How about we go back to our full screen then, so I can see the candidates present. And thank you once again. And Council, as I indicated in the opening, it wasn't the best of news, but when you're renovating a building that's 50 years old, we're not always aware of what is behind a certain structure. With Allison here, and we'll bring Kristen into this later. We'll have questions. Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. To Allison, this is actually to Jill and to Alan. First question, can we get a printout sent to our iPad on all these changes, and can that be put on the agenda so the public can see it? And my second question is the low, I didn't quite understand, Allison talked about low east ceiling costing $111,000, and yet it went from $445 to $391, which is only 50-some thousand difference. So I didn't quite follow all the figures there.
Yep.
Okay.
I think just before Al, you go, I think the focus of this conversation does have to deal with the asbestos issue, but we'll certainly allow Allison to give you some information on that. Staff will make sure that the minutes of the meeting will record the changes there, but we mustn't deviate from, we have a particular problem at hand and we have to find a solution. So I hope the conversation focuses on the asbestos issue. Please go ahead, Allison.
So if I understand correctly, you're questioning why there's a price for $46,000 for the low E ceiling and then the $111,000. Is that correct?
Yes. First you mentioned 445, Allison, then you mentioned at the end 391, but yet the low ceiling is 110. So the figures don't drive the way.
The 450,000 is a total of all of the changes on that summary that I provided. It also included the price for the generator as well. And within that list, there was a cost for a new low E ceiling of $46,000. We actually had that as a separate price in the contract because we were unsure about whether we would, what condition it was going to be in when it came down. And when it did come down, it was in fact in poor condition. The $111,000 is all with regard to asbestos and the paint that was found on the underside of the concrete structure in the arena itself. So for whatever reason, in somebody's brilliance 50 years ago, they painted the underside of the concrete structure in the arena with an asbestos paint. And that is what's causing all of our problems here with regard to that issue, is because the Ministry of Labor has very, very stringent outlines for how work can be done where there's asbestos containing materials. There's serious regulations around that, which is why we have to hire specialist trades to do that work. It's done under what's known as a type 2 abatement process, which isn't as bad as a type 3, but it still has requirements around enclosures, cleaning, removal of materials, and air clearance during the process of any work that happens in that area. So again, that $111,000 is the cost for putting up a substructure in the arena by the asbestos trades using type 2 regulations, so that all of the other trades can do their work without having to worry about the abatement procedures. I hope that helps.
Thank you. And convenience of time, Martin, if that isn't, I'm sure staff will kind of advise you the course of this week or the first of next week on any further concerns you have, but we will focus on the asbestos issue. Council, please raise your hand if you have any questions you'd like to give Allison. Yes, Councillor Scholdice, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. This is a question for Allison. I'm just wondering how much of a delay this will cause in the job, and when do you expect the entire job in its entirety to be finished?
Right. So the other option that I described to you, where the trades were going up and down, would have a significant impact on the schedule. This particular approach, we are being told by the contractor will not have an impact on the end date of the contract. It will allow them to continue their work. So the plan is that they'll get the asbestos trade in there. They actually have the material on hold until today, I think tomorrow, in a warehouse that they can bring to site, have that installed and have the work carry on. Once that work is finished, they're going to remove the old slab and carry on with the new slab. But in the meantime, all of the work in the dressing room and second floor areas is ongoing. And I believe our current end date is in January at the moment. We're still hoping that we can meet that, assuming that there are no delays in delivery of equipment that are not related to this issue. As you're all aware, you've probably heard on the news about supply chain issues and delivery. We are experiencing that, but we've done our best to mitigate that through a number of different issues. Again, we've been told that this approach to the arena ceiling won't have an impact on the schedule.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Council, any further questions? Kristen, anything that involves money, we like to bring you in on the conversation here. And
I think Mark McGill had a question.
very often you can, oh, did Mark, I'm sorry, I missed your hand. Mark, where are you on the screen? Okay, got, yep, okay, Mark, go ahead.
Yep, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wanted to ask about the generator. $220,000 for a generator. How common is it to have a backup generator at a hockey arena? I don't think we never had one before, did we, in the last 50 years?
No, I don't believe so. Just portable, but nothing to accommodate the building. Allison, the question is directed towards you, I believe. Would you like to answer, Councillor McGill?
We've worked in several municipalities where there is a backup generator when the municipality has decided to designate the space as an emergency facility. For example, the building that we finished in Kamoka a few years ago has a generator. And a number of the facilities in the City of London, I believe, have generators so that they can be emergency shelters if so required. For whatever reason happens out there, usually weather related. Certainly some do go that way, and other municipalities may not.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up question, Councillor McGill?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. I think our fire hall is designated as like an emergency shelter, and we just put a generator in there a couple of years ago, which cost about $50,000. So I don't know whether we need to have this arena as an emergency shelter as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of accommodating that, we'll, when Councillor finished the question period, we'll certainly turn it over to Kristen, and she may advise us on how we can reduce the burden of this financially, and she may have some comments to make on that. Councillor Cowell, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to Councillor McGill. One of the things that we've discussed quite frequently at emergency management is having a secondary location for our emergency designated area, because the fire hall is not equipped properly to be such a space because of the increase of traffic that goes through the fire station, because there are fire calls. It's not the type of place that should be a designated emergency spot. Because the doors open up in the wintertime, it can be very cold. It does not appropriately have air conditioning as a cooling center. So while it has worked for us, it's not usually the type of place that should be. And we as a municipality should be looking at having a secondary location because the fire halls are not usually the right spot.
Okay, point well taken. Council, yes, Allison, please go ahead.
I just wanted to maybe add a little bit of information for the councilors on this particular item. When we were approached to add the generator to the project, you may wondering why it's 220,000 rather than whatever was spent at the fire station. And we presented three options, and one was a very simple option where you would you would temporarily bring in a portable generator and plug it in. That's, I think, similar to what's happened at the fire station. Option two, which is what was priced, is I would say a little bit of a middle of the road option where it is permanently located. It sits on a concrete base. It's within an enclosure, so the public can't get to it. It has a gas line that comes to it. It's connected into the building in such a way that specific systems are designated that go onto the generator if there's a power outage. And then there's an automatic transfer switch that basically allows all of those systems to operate. There was yet a third option that was reviewed that would have been quite a bit more expensive than this, but was determined that this kind of middle of the road option was probably the best suited for an application like this in a municipality of your size. So just a little bit of background to what was included in that. And I know that's not what the meeting is about, so I don't want to belabor it further.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Wilkins, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mayhew. And I don't know who wants to take a stab at this, but I think what I'm hearing here is basically this is just a reallocation of funds. Would that be correct? Who wants to answer that? Kristen, I see you nodding your head. And they've already been approved, correct?
Kristen, if you'd like to answer the question, go ahead, please.
Yes, I would, if we had 150,000 in the capital budget for the generator part of the project. So if we just eliminated that from the project and used the 150,000 towards the additional costs, that would leave us with a little bit of extra room just in case anything else came up.
Thank you very much, Kristen, for that. Just clears it up. There's been a lot of numbers kind of flying around in the last few minutes, and that kind of makes it a little clearer, at least for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And council, any further questions? And I remind council very respectfully that this is a special meeting called because there was some urgency on council formulating a decision to move forward on this. And it's important that we come to some compromise and understanding of how to solve this problem. Councillor Cowell, please go ahead. I saw your hand.
Thank you. So could we have that image up so I can look at the prices again, or as Councillor Vink said, have it emailed to us so I can take a look at it and understand we're taking some things off and we're putting some things on. Is that correct? I thought we were just adding things on.
Can everybody see that again?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, we can, Allison, and please go ahead. And Kristen, I'll watch your hand as well. If you can add any clarity to Allison's discussion here, please raise your hand, and you may be able to explain some of these costs as well.
If I understand this correctly, the proposal is to remove the cost for the generator from this total of 445 and use the funding from the generator to cover the cost for the arena ceiling, asbestos abatement, and some additional costs that have come up. Please correct me.
Allison, you are correct, Allison. That was a strategy that we could consider as an option to do that. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, to reduce the financial impact. one way would be to remove the generator. Yeah, council, please, if you have any questions regarding the chart that is in front of you and need clarification on it, please raise your hand, and between Allison and Kristen, we'll certainly make sure you get an answer. Councillor Cowell, you're looking at that. If you tell me when we can get rid of that image, I don't want to take it off the screen until you're convenienced by it. Got it? Okay. All right. And I think it can come down now, Allison. Thank you very much for doing that again. Moving forward, we council very often look to staff to come up with some recommendations on this. Kristen, have you had a chance to do, if we, because of this asbestos abnormality we found, is there, have you had a chance to determine the effect on the tax rate on this over a long period of time? I'm sure the public will want to know how much this bad news is actually going to cost a taxpayer. Have you had an opportunity to do that?
Well, if we decide to remove the generator from that, if you take Allison's number and subtract off the 220,000, that gives us 225,624. And if we remove the 100,000 contingency off of that, that gives us 125,000. So if we've got 150 from the budget to cover that, that gives us a little bit of wiggle room for anything different that comes up. If we decide to leave the generator in, then it'll be just that increased cost over 20 years.
Of the 125,000?
No, of the whole.
Of the whole thing.
The whole 400, 300,000.
Okay. And you don't have that in numbers and dollars and cents over 20 or 25 years, eh?
Can you see my hand, Mayor Mayhew?
Yes, I can now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, Chris is doing that. Thank you,
It
Mark.
might be about 12 to 1,500 additional dollars a year.
Per residence?
Oh, no.
No, I was
Per
asking per
year.
resident. Yeah. Yeah, per year. Yes.
No, I don't
Okay.
have it per residence, no.
Okay. All right. Okay. Mark, yeah, please go on.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. We remove the generator and approve the rest of the costing information, including the asbestos abatement costs.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor. Council, the chair will ask for a second for that. And we have a problem to solve here. We can't stick our head in the sand on this. Martin, you are going to second that? Thank you, Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Vink has seconded McGill's motion. Discussion. Yes, Councillor Bartlett, please go first, followed by Councillor McGill.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Allison. I noticed on that chart, there was $11,000 for a gas line revision. Was that to do with the compressor, or was that something separate?
Oh, you're muted, Allison, there. Yeah.
I'd have to double check that. I'm sorry for that. But I believe it was for upsizing the gas service that comes in. Oh, sorry, that's not exactly correct. Sorry, I just checked my notes here. There is a gas line that runs up high in the arena that was in the way of some ductwork that we were installing, and we had to relocate that gas line to accommodate the new ductwork.
Okay, so it's gonna have to be done one way or the other then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
good,
think it
thank
may
you.
be done already, actually.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Did I miss anyone's hand? Councillor Cowell, I saw some movement there. Did you have a question, Krista? You're okay. Councillor Vink again, please. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yes, to Allison. Question I have is, if we had to put this generator in later on, how much extra cost would it be to do it later on?
That's a hard question in some ways. There's a couple of ways that can be approached. One is that we put in some of the infrastructure now and add the generator. So I guess for context, on the east side of the arena, we are building a new concrete pad where the new dehumidifier is going to sit, and there's a fenced area around that. As part of the proposal for the generator, we were enlarging that space so that the generator would be within the same enclosure, so it would be protected from the public and would sit in there. There's a gas connection that has to be made and some electrical connections that have to be made. And then there were some changes at the inside of the building that were made to the distribution equipment to allow for that seamless turnover from regular power to generator during a power outage. So whether some of that could be broken out and done now so that you wouldn't have to go back into the arena later to do it, I'd have to ask some questions about that. But, you know, theoretically, you could do some of the work now and then put the generator. And again, the cost for the generator itself, just the equipment, was about $80,000, just like if you were to buy it. The remainder of the cost was for installing it and providing the surface for it to sit on and all of the other components that have to go with it. So I'm not exactly sure that answered all of your question, but okay. You could go back in and do it, but it would be, it would definitely be more expensive to do it later, if that's helpful.
Okay. It's my responsibility as chair to make sure everyone has an understanding of the discussion. And Councillor McGill, you've made that motion. Do you have any appetite for amending it for rough-ins, Mark? I believe on the fire hall, we did that. We did some rudimentary rough-ins first, and then the generator came later. Would you have any appetite for that? To position us for a future installation?
You know, thanks for the extra information, Allison. I did not realize that the generator itself is only $80,000, and everything else puts the price up to $220,000. So that's what, another $140,000? 140.
Just check your mic there, Allison.
Yeah. Sorry, that's round numbers, Mark, but I can, Councillor McGill, sorry, but I can confirm that. I provided the breakdown of that number to staff.
So if we rough everything in, do everything but buy the generator, does that mean we'd be spending roughly $140,000 and only saving $80,000 for buying the generator? That's not, if you're going to spend 140, you might as well go the whole way and spend the 220 and have the generator. So I don't know. I'd like to hear other councillors' comments.
Yes, Councillor Cowell, please go ahead.
Has the generator been ordered? Will there be any penalty for not moving forward with this or for canceling the order on the generator?
Not at this time. No, it has not. It hasn't been ordered yet.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Scholdice, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I really think that we'd be wise to hold off on the rough-in as well. That councils in the future make the determination if they want a generator in there, and the rough-in will be included in that cost at that time.
Okay, thank you. Just might add that emergency preparedness is something the province tries to urge municipalities to do, and it would be nice if there would be some funding for this in the future, if for municipalities to position themselves for emergency management situations. But that is pure speculation. There's no guarantees that that will be coming forth, but we certainly are always on the lookout for that. Any other counselor wish to add in on this? And Kristen, because it's a financial matter, I'm going to call upon you again, just to, if you have any thoughts or would like to lend any opinions or recommendations to council on this. I think the asbestos mitigation is not really a choice. We must address the ceiling issue, as our architect has mentioned. And the conversation has morphed over into the generator as a means to alleviate the financial impact. But any further on the numbers
No.
here and your concern?
No, I think that's up to council whether they'd like to move forward with the generator or use those funds for the asbestos mitigation.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Allison, I didn't want to cut you off. Oh, I think you're telling someone to be shh like that, aren't you? Eh? Okay, no problem.
Sorry about that.
That's fine. And Allison, I think you've explained it very well to council, and I know that you have had this dialogue with administration, and that is where the discussion on the generator came up, I believe, in the first place, as per the information that was conveyed to me. It was part of the dialogue between your conversation and that. Krista, I see a question from you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. One final comment. Was the generator a component of the original grant?
Kristen may be able to answer that, or Allison?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't? Okay. All right. Okay. Fine. Out of courtesy, I'll ask a last call for questions. It's been moved by Councillor McGill and has been seconded by Councillor Vink that we abandon the generator in the project to help finance the asbestos mitigation. The chair will call the question. All in favor, please raise your hand. Just want to make sure. Okay. Looks like it's unanimous. Okay, thank you very much, council. And Allison, thank you very much. Kristen and Jill, thank you as well for advising council of this and setting some groundwork prior to this meeting. We appreciate that as well. And we have to move on, council, and I think that your resolution is testament to that. Thank you. Allison, again, I want to thank you for your communication with council. We always want to hear from you. We know that there is a bit of a journey left in this project. It's a big project. There has been some curves in the road, but we must keep pioneering on here. So again, thank you. We look forward to seeing you down the road, and hopefully just happy updates are all that we're going to have from you, but keep us posted, and thank you once again. We appreciate it.
Take care.
You as well. Jill, number 4 on the agenda indicates that it's a closed session. Is it convenient to ask council to go into closed session at this time? I don't want to miss anything. Was there anything else or any additions that you wanted to put it in?
No other additions.
Okay, that's fine. Then can I have a motion that we go into closed session regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, and more specifically CAO resignation. May I have a motion for that, please? Councillor Cal, moved by Councillor Cal, seconded by Councillor Scholdice, that we go into closed session at 4:32. At 4:42, rather, 4:42, we go into closed session. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, you can take the gavel.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mayhew. At this time, I'm going to call a 30-minute recess we will meet in the office. 30 minutes should give everybody enough time